எங்க வந்து இல்லையாச்சா சுவிட்ச் ஆன்
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I need like 5 minutes to set my remarks.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, bye.
We'll 11:25.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. Can't make it any lighter, right?
No. If you want, you can switch off the red button. I don't think this side you can do.
Yeah.
It will become from latest plans.
Pleasant morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. My consul general is actually in Chennai, or sorry, in Madurai today.
Oh,
Yeah, she's looking at a project supported by the U.S. Agency for International Development,
okay.
and she's with the finance minister, actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so.
Yeah, as you said, probably one day for another function, we'll invite the consulate general.
Yeah, that'd be great. She didn't go, she went on a personal trip for the weekend. And then
Okay.
she just added the one work day onto the trip.
But we are very happy that you have accepted to be the chief guest for this English Literary Association. We are extremely happy.
Oh, thanks for asking me, but I'm sorry you had to move the date. Yesterday was American holiday, so
Yes, yes, but we are in touch with your staff, and then everything has been done.
Great.
No problem.
I heard you guys participated in one of the American Center programs.
Yes.
How was
that? Yeah, it was really good. Students said that it was very interesting, and we are looking forward to more programs from the US Consulate, both for students and faculty. And we're happy to be part of all the programs. Maybe one bring my students, not all, but a set of students to US Consulate Library.
Yeah, sure.
Your office looks great.
Yeah, this is the library only.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
We have trouble using Zoom on our office computer, so we usually come to the American Center.
Okay.
But yeah, we're probably opening to the public. We're thinking early December, mid-December.
Okay. So a few faculty members and few students from us will come. We'd like to be part of that and then just show my students this US Consulate Library.
Totally. Great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Are you guys, are you on a semester?
Yes.
schedule?
Yeah, we are almost completing the semester for senior students. The first week of November, we'll have the end of semester examination.
Okay.
For juniors, it goes up to December end. Just before Christmas, we'll have the examination. And from January onwards, we'll have one calendar for both juniors and seniors. Because of the, we admitted students late for the 21 batch. Ma'am, we'll be starting exactly another 3 minutes.
Okay.
11:30 sharp, we'll have the prayer, and then it goes according to the time schedule.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, good morning, sir. We are very happy to welcome our principal also for this ELA inauguration. Extremely happy to welcome our principal. We'll be starting another 2 minutes, sir. We're also happy that our vice principal is here, Dr. G.C. Abraham, our Bursa, Dr. Sheila, and Dr. Premila Paul, the director of Skillet, and deans, additional deans, our faculty members. Will be starting the program another 2 minutes, 11:30 sharp we start. Thank you.
You have got a chance to start you all over again. A new place, a new people, new sights, and a clean slate. See, you can be anything you want with a fresh start. I'm Helba of 2nd PG,
And I'm Varsha Vijay of 2nd UG.
only to welcome you all for this inaugural ceremony. It's my privilege and honor to welcome our respected principal, esteemed president, honorable chief guest, faculty members, and my dear students, and for the friends for this English Literary Association virtual inaugural ceremony. Every moment is a fresh beginning, says T.S. Eliot, and we shall begin this function by invoking God's blessing.
Thank you, Flintlock Choir, for your mellifluous voices.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Here, I invite Mr. Mohammad Ashim to deliver his welcome address.
A pleasant good morning to everyone present here. I, Muhammad Asim, feel honored to have the opportunity to deliver the welcome address for the inauguration ceremony of the English Literary Association. On behalf of our esteemed institution, it is my immense pleasure to welcome our Chief Guest of Honor, Madam Annalie Sheshastri, Consul of Public Affairs, U.S. Consulate General. I consider it a privilege to welcome our respected Principal and Secretary, Dr. M. Dawmani Christopher, whose distinguished presence adds grace to the event. I cordially welcome Dr. M. Rajendra Pandian, Head Department of English, Aided. I welcome Dr. J. Paul Jaker, Head of the Department, SF, and President of ELA. I also welcome Professor J. John Rajkumar, Head Satellite Campus. I feel elated to extend a warm welcome to all my fellow students belonging to various streams. It is saying that great things happen when there is a gathering of great minds. Therefore, on this grand occasion, the heart full of hope, I welcome everyone to get enlightened, educated, and of course, to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed.
I'd like to invite our principal, who is known for his leadership, strength, and encouragement he gives. I'd like to call upon our principal, Dr. M. Daumani Christopher, to deliver the presidential address.
Good morning. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir, we can hear you very well.
Thank you, Jagar. Thank you. Ms. Anne Lee Seshatri, Consul for Public Affairs, US Consulate General, Chennai. Dr. Rajendra Pandian, Head in Charge, PG and Research Department of English. Dr. Paul Jager, President of ELA and Dean for International Exchange and Study Abroad. Faculty friends and the energetic students and student representatives. A pleasant morning to all of you. The Department of English of the American College is one of the oldest departments, but it continues to keep itself fresh and young by warming itself up with various academic activities and literary festivals. At the outset, I'm happy to be part of this inauguration of the English Literary Association for 3 different reasons. Number 1, I'm pleased because Anne Lee Seshatri, I met her earlier, the Consul for Public Affairs, US Consulate General Chennai, is a chief guest for this ELA inauguration. I'm sure both faculty and student would stand to benefit from Mrs. Seshatri's talk. I take this opportunity to inform Mrs. Seshatri, that our students and faculty are brilliant, vibrant, and would be happy to participate in student and faculty program at the US Consulate. I learned from Dr. Jaker that already USIS keeps sending programs to our college. Thank you, Mrs. Seshatri, for gracing this occasion with your presence. Second thing, the English Literary Association that stages play annually. Due to the pandemic, the department was not able to stage a play last year. But I learned from the self-finance head, Dr. Jacob, that already the theatre team has started the discussion, and I'm sure this theatre team would definitely stage a play this year. I believe that staging plays would facilitate students to showcase their talents and also inculcate theatre skills. A lot of film personalities have been born from the Department of English in the past, and I'm sure that the department will produce more artists in the years to come. And third point, why I am interested on ELA. The ELA conducts an annual literary festival called Pegasus. This is the good old Pegasus. This is an intercollegiate competition held during February every year. I learned from the department that this year they are planning to conduct it virtually. These activities enable students to develop communication and soft skills. I congratulate the department for having bought the Zoom platform for their own use with the resources that they have. I'm sure that the department would use the platform and help students and faculty to enrich their knowledge in both language and literature. I also take this opportunity to wish all the students the very best in all their endeavors. Congratulations, students, and God bless all your activities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words. I invite Mr. Prince Albert from 2nd PG to introduce the chief guest.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Good morning to one and all present here. I'm Albert. It is my honor and privilege to be introducing our chief guest for the session. On behalf of our college, I cordially welcome our chief guest, Ms. Anne-Lise Shadru, Public Affairs Officer of the U.S. Consulate in Chennai. She previously served as the American Center Director in New Delhi and the Cultural Affairs Officer in Bangkok. She also served as the Vice Consul in Chennai as her first overseas assignment. She holds an MA in Developmental Communications and her BA in Political Science. Prior to joining the Foreign Service, Ms. Anne taught English in the US Peace Corps, managed media research for the Broadcasting Board of Governors, and supported democracy building initiatives for the US Agency for International Development. Ma'am, it is an honorable moment for us to have your prestigious presence in today's event. We welcome you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. I would like to invite Dr. Paul Jacker, President of ELA, to honor the chief guest.
As a token of love and appreciation, we would like to present a memento to Madam Consul on this occasion. Madam, in fact, I wanted to present to you the book written by Mr. Manohar Devadas titled My Madurai. But when I happened to talk to him, he said, Ms. Anne-Lise Shadri already has a copy of My Madurai. So why not you give her another book? So we changed the idea, and then we have sent to you the book titled Greenwell Years. So I take this opportunity to thank you and then present you with this book as a token of love and appreciation for being the chief guest on this ELA.
Thank you. I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much.
And one more information, ma'am, to you, that Nobel laureate Joshua David Angrist is an alumnus of Oberlin College, Ohio. So we take pride in announcing this also. And we also feel very happy that the American College and the Oberlin Chauncey has a long relationship of more than 70 years. So we take this pride, and thank you for your presence, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Distinguished guests, dignitaries, and faculty friends. Here's yet another occasion to celebrate as our students emerge from the engulfing shadows of the pandemic. Radiant and glorious in mind, body, and spirit, with a digital version of the department magazine, Ensign 21. They have come up with an expertly executed teaser that traces from script to screen the making of the magazine. Here's Ms. Tanya of 2nd PG to explicate on the teaser. Good morning. We, the Flintonians and Centenarians, take enormous pride in presenting you the teaser to Enzyme 21. The force behind Enzyme 21 is the editorial board, who spent weeks collecting, sorting, editing, and drafting all of the students' ideas. It was definitely strenuous, yet the more difficult it got, the more determined we were to produce this magazine. We have also conceptualized an evocative cover design that captures the cover theme, Parthum Expressio, which translates to creative expression. We believe it is in creativity that the concrete outlook of humanity receives its expression. Now, we have the visual play of all that we've been up to, from writing, editing, and designing. The making of Enzyme 21 from us to you. Thank you. Proud and thankful to all who meticulously designed the teaser, and special thanks to Professor Josiah Emmanuel, who helped students detail the teaser to perfection. May I request Ms. Anne Lee to officially release the magazine.
All right, here it comes. Beautiful colors. Congratulations. Shall I open it?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Wow. Wow, look at the table of contents. Look at all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And this is all written by the students?
Yes. Everything is written by students.
Wow.
The whole program is anchored by students only. It's a student program.
Amazing. And the great design and layout as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Congrats.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for doing the honors.
English literature is an understanding of individual life and society in social ethics and helps to handle a body of information in a way that is conducive to action. I'd like to invite our Honorable Chief Guest, Madam Anne Lee Sheshadri, to give the inaugural address.
Thank you. Well, wanakam, everybody. Kalai wanakam. You can see I am coming to you from the American Center. Right. Just making sure I'm not muted. I'm coming to you from the American Center in Chennai. I'm here with President and Vice President Biden and Harris to welcome you. And such a pleasure to connect with everyone again. I had met your principal and the senior staff of the college during my visit to Madurai last month. It was just amazing to find your institution with the name American College right on the main road, to visit the campus and to learn about your history and your founding by American missionaries. I really enjoyed my visit and especially my tour of the Skillet Library, and I hope that we can collaborate in the future. I'd like to thank the principal, Tavanmani Christopher, and Dr. Paul Jayakar for inviting me to inaugurate the English Literary Association and to interact with you this morning. And let me take the opportunity to thank you for participating in one of our recent virtual programs, Oceans in American Literature, where we had an in-depth discussion of the American classic Moby Dick. And I do hope that we will continue to have you participate in our virtual programs. I am delighted to showcase American literature with you in Madurai, which I know is the seat of the third Sangam Tamil literature. American literature is very rich due to the influence of cultures, and it's essential reading for anyone majoring in English or English literature. And I do hope that you'll really increase the level of American literature that you can offer your students, and we are here to help you do that at the American Center. Now, the American literary tradition is part of a broader tradition of American literature and begins really with Native Americans, where we have orally transmitted myths, legends, tales, and songs from American Indian culture. And I know you guys are experts in literature. You've put together this amazing ensign and you have had a lot of classes. So you know the different phases probably of American literature. We have our Enlightenment writers, we have our Romantics, we have the Realists. But I want to focus my remarks on really what's happening with American literature now. So I will talk a little bit about contemporary American literature. And I'm using as one of my source materials remarks from Professor John Lowe from Louisiana State University. It is a very exciting time to study American literature. Why? Because right now it's an explosion of multicultural writing. Why is that? Well, America is a multicultural country. You know, when you're in India and people trying to figure out who's who, they'll say, you know, are you Tamilian? Are you Gujarati? And then people will define themselves maybe by their state. But in the US, when no one ever says I'm American, right? We hyphenate. So we say, what are you? I say I'm Irish American, or I'm Irish American with a little bit of German American. Now I'm married to someone from India, so our kids are going to have a very long description. When people say, what are you? They're going to say I'm half Indian American, I'm a quarter Irish American, I'm a quarter German American, and that's how we have the melting pot that we have today. And really our writing and literature is really starting to reflect that melting pot. And that's why it's a really exciting time to study American writing and American literature. Now, this multiculturalism really started with the African-American literature. And African-Americans began their writing journey during the second half of the 18th century. And these writers were demonstrating social justice arguments that all men are created equal. So we had writers like Phyllis Wheatley, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Jacobs. And of course, before the Civil War, which was a major turning point in our country's history, a lot of the literature was really focused on the issue of slavery and of human rights and the injustice of slavery. But at the turn of the 20th century, we had writers like W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington transitioning from writing about slavery, which of course ended after the Civil War, and then talking about the struggle for civil rights. We had a major turning point called the Harlem Renaissance, where we had an explosion of African-American literature. We had Black writing, art, performance art that were all absorbed into mainstream American literature. And of course, two most influential writers of this period were Langston Hughes and Gloria Naylor. As our nation changed, our literature changed to reflect these shifts as well. So not only was Walt Whitman studied, but Mr. Langston Hughes was also studied. And of course, there's a famous poem that you guys might know called I Too Sing America. And this is by Langston Hughes. So I'll just read it to you. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. And this is a well-known poem by Langston Hughes. We also have writers like Richard Wright, who wrote Native Son, James Baldwin, who's having a bit of resurgence now as many of his works are being made into films, Gwendolyn Brooks, and they're all writing about Black nationalism and racial segregation. And then we have a lot of award-winning, best-selling authors coming up from the African-American community. People like Alex Haley, who wrote Roots, Alice Walker, who wrote The Color Purple, Toni Morrison, and Maya Angelou. And I hope these names are familiar to you. And if they're not, we have to get these books into your curriculum because they are fantastic. And I think, you know, when I look at formative books and when I studied in college and high school, you know, I think Toni Morrison, probably Beloved, is one of the books that really jumped out at me as really having an impact. So those are fantastic books. And of course, Toni Morrison is still alive. Alice Walker, I believe, is still alive. So these are contemporary writers. And one of the projects of the American Center to make these works more accessible is we're going to be translating Maya Angelou into Tamil. So I know you all speak English, but for those for whom English is not very fluent, we will hope to have Maya Angelou's books in Tamil, including her poetry and Still I Rise and her classic I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and we'll put those out into the community. So excited about that project. And of course, you know, right now America is struggling, right? We're having a reckoning about racism and how it still exists in our country. And so we have the Black Lives Matter movement, and we're really seized with the need to understand the viewpoints of African Americans. The most recent, you know, strong voice in writing from this community was Amanda Hill. As you know, she did the poem during President Biden's inauguration called The Hill We Climb. And that book of poetry has recently been published. I know we've ordered it. I'm not sure if it's arrived yet, but hope to have that prominently displayed at the American Center, since she's very well known and really only about, I think, 20 years old. She just graduated from Harvard, I think, a year or two ago. So let me talk a little bit more about this multicultural literature. So it does branch out from the African-American tradition. So our immigrants come not only from Europe, but overwhelmingly immigrant populations now are coming from Asia and from Latin America. You may know that Indian Americans are the second largest immigrant community after Mexicans. They're also the richest minority group in the United States. And I'll talk a little bit about Indian writers. And of course, the Skillet Library is full of Indian American writers. But what does multicultural literature do? Well, it's a source of insight into the cultural dynamics of the United States. It's a way for Americans to understand our nation's heritage. And it's a way for international audiences to fathom what life and thought is in the United States. In the stories they tell from different points of view, US authors of a multitude of backgrounds build bridges of understanding over which we can all cross into each other's worlds. Universities across the United States at the outset of the 21st century, students are entering classes in American literature that have syllabi that are stunningly diverse. Even in our high schools, teenagers are looking at writings by men and women whose names they may appear unpronounceable at first, or at least unfamiliar. And yet, as these young people are delving into these volumes, they're learning more than their parents did about the experiences of representatives of different ethnic, racial, and immigrant groups that are the mosaic of the United States population. So immigrant literature, multicultural literature is expanding in high school and college, but it's not a new phenomenon. I talked about all the way back to Native American traditions. And then we talked about African American traditions. But early on, we used to sort of define these traditions by different colors, right? The red, the black, the white. Then we had black and white. So even in other multicultural writings surfaced from these groups. So we had a Cherokee Indian named Yellowbird who wrote a book in 1854, not about the Cherokees, but about a legendary Mexican bandit who had committed robberies in California in the manner of Robin Hood. Mostly in the 20th century, the rich Native American and African American oral traditions were mined first by Anglo academics and later by scholars from within the multicultural groups themselves. Then we have more formal literature from different ethnic groups. We had American Jewish literature become prominent. I talked about the Harlem Renaissance. And in the post-war era, when we had the civil rights movement in the 1960s, we also had a lot of activism from the Latin American immigrant community. We call it Chicano political activism. And we had a body of writing come out of that. How did this writing kind of make its way into the canon of American literature? It's been a little bit gradual. It didn't just happen. At first, in the 1960s, you might have read only about one or two writers. And they were always sort of the same people, right? And then there was challenges to the academic community asking for more ethnic literature. Alice Walker's Color Purple was one of the first to break through. A landmark novel of African American literature. But multicultural writing really had to succeed, not just in university classrooms, but also in places like the MLA, which you guys probably heard about, the Modern Language Association, which sponsors conferences with thousands of participants and a wealth of scholarly presentations. It's very, very influential. So in the 1970s, the MLA was still adhering to the American canon. So Hawthorne, Fitzgerald, Faulkner, and Hemingway. They were adding a few male Jewish writers like Philip Roth and Saul Bellow. But young scholars started making the case for multicultural literature. And out of a spur of moment conversation at one of their conferences came the Society for the Study of Multi-Ethnic Literature of the United States, which is called MELIS. Now, MELIS has chapters in several countries and plans for expansions to others. And they present 2 sessions every year at the MLA conference. They sponsor their own and they publish a journal to introduce new writers from diverse backgrounds to scholars. Now they're sort of, the MLA is also looking at things like ethnicity, hybridity, transnationalism, and other subjects related to multiculturalism. The American Studies Association, which is an important professional group for teachers of US literature and US history, has also created conferences around themes such as multicultural dynamics and the impact of borderlands. Now, in the 1970s, scholars began to investigate writers from different ethnic and racial backgrounds. And this is when you had a lot of Asian Americans come to the fore. And one of the first ones was Chinese American author Maxine Hong Kingston. Ultimately, Harvard literature professor Werner Solings, who wrote his volume called Beyond Ethnicity, came up with a different definition of ethnicity. He said that all US literature was ethnic, and you had to have a careful reading both of works from the traditional canon and from ethnic texts. And with that, we should really rethink the canon itself. And we go on to sort of add different voices to the conversation in American literature. In 1990, there's a major publication of the Heath Anthology of American Literature. I don't know if you have that in your library, but this is a catalyst for the field of American literature studies. And in 1990, they started representing a lot more multicultural authors. So who are they? We talked about some Asian writers, we talked about African writers, but we also have US novelists, playwrights, and poets whose roots are in the Caribbean, in Mexico, in Korea, in Pakistan, Vietnam, Lebanon, and the Philippines. So really, I mean, when I read American literature, I learn about the world. I learn about immigration and immigrant communities in the US, but they also evoke stories from their homeland. And so it's really been a way for me to understand the world by reading these authors. And today it's generally acknowledged in the United States that some of our finest contemporary literature is multicultural in origin, narratives, ideas, and perspectives. And that the issues they raise of family, identity, search for self-expression, and community really speak to all of us, no matter if you're in that ethnic group or not. Multicultural literature has become unequivocally representative of the United States. So let me mention a few more writers to spark your imagination and your interest. Well, first of all, from India, there's a very long list. And again, they're in the Skillet Library, but some of the most well-known and popular are people like Jhumpa Lahiri, who's won major awards, Chitra Banerjee, who is a professor still in Texas, and rewrites a lot of the Indian traditional tales to make them more accessible. Bharati Mukherjee. We also have, as I mentioned, Chinese American writers. So we have Maxine Hong Kingston. We also have Amy Tan. From Vietnam, we have a very well-known writer who won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 2016, Viet Thanh Nguyen, and he wrote The Sympathizer and also The Refugees, which I recommend. We have Afghan American writer Khaled Hosseini. And then we have a huge tradition of writing from Latin America, people like Junot Diaz, Julia Alvarez, Sandra Cisneros. The list is quite endless. And I do hope that these authors, if they're not part of your curriculum, you can make them part of your curriculum. And here's where I segue to the advertisement for the American Center. If you want more information on any of these authors or any of the new writers that are really represented in the syllabi at American universities and high schools today, the best place for that is the Chennai American Center. We have the largest collection of American studies in South Asia. And we have information not only with books, but we have documentaries, films, and access to online databases. Though we have been closed since March 2020, we are very active virtually, and we can still provide books by mail, as well as reference material and books and other material by email. Just to tell you a little bit more about what's happening with the American Center, we've recently introduced NEFT payment to enroll as members, which is very low cost. And we're doing a survey right now about our services and expectations. So please check our website and our survey, and also our quarterly newsletter, which should be out soon. Our programs are interactive, and we have a little bit of everything, whether it's English language workshops, programming about entrepreneurship, networking with US higher education institutions, or discussions of US culture or policy. We will introduce virtual reality and makerspace. We have virtual reality headsets coming to the American Center, and we're also building a makerspace. So I hope that your professor said you might come in or later this year to a trip to Chennai. I hope you can take advantage of some of these fun tools. I will preview the next program coming up that you can participate in. This is with a renowned author and reporter from the New York Times. His name is Thomas Friedman. He's one of the strongest voices right now for green energy. He'll be talking about green energy with our chief of mission, chargé d'affaires, Patricia Lucina, who is we don't have an ambassador right now, so she would be the designate as the ambassador until we get an ambassador. She will be in conversation with Thomas Friedman. That's October 21st. So I do encourage everyone to sign up for that Zoom. Also, I can't do a talk without emphasizing that we have free advising for anyone interested in studying in the United States. Of course, you're already studying undergrad, but you might be interested in master's levels or PhD programs. And so we have, again, free advising through Education USA, and we will give you information on any accredited university in the United States. So we're not pitching a particular one, but we'll tell you about our system, and we'll give you an intro to any university that you'd be interested in. When we do webinars as well through that. We also have our regional English language office, which does workshops on different aspects of English, whether you want to improve your writing, your academic writing, your presentation skills. We do have an officer here dedicated to English language learning. Finally, I just want to welcome everyone to join us in conversation on social media. We have active social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, YouTube, and that way you'll get to know programs that we're organizing, and you can keep in touch with us. So thank you very much. I've really enjoyed meeting with you all again. I'm really impressed with your Ensign, and I'm going to read it very soon. I'm going to take it home and show my daughter who's in high school. So thank you for having me, Nandri, and hope to see you all in person at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge. We will take your words on literature as an inspiration and will work on it. Once again, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for that informative and interesting talk. Now we come to the question and answer session. Participants, you may send your questions through any platform, the control panel. We will collect and address them to Ms. Andy. Please don't forget. Faculty can ask your questions directly through Zoom platform.
Dr. Rajendra Pandey, you'll have to unmute your audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning, everybody. Ma'am, you just made a mention of your project. You said you folks are translating the poems of Maya Angelou. I just wanted to tell you that when Professor Swaminathan, Dr. Swaminathan, former Vice Principal of the American College, he has already translated some of the poems of Maya Angelou. Okay, I tried to send you the book through Paul Jacob. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That would be great to know. We don't want to recreate the wheel. If there's already Tamil translations, we could pick other works.
I will send you that through Paul. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Daniel Kubraj from the Department of English. I have a question for you, ma'am. Actually, many of our students are interested to study abroad. Particularly, they want to join American universities. Already, we are giving training for them for IELTS and TOEFL examination. Can we have an MOU like that for training our students for international English language examinations? Do you have any such programs, ma'am?
Sorry, if I heard the question right, you're asking about like coaching for the TOEFL or the IELTS, something like that?
Yes.
I can check on that with Education USA. I know we offer, like, we administer the tests sometimes, but I don't know if we're, you know, like an authorized trainer for those tests, but I'll check.
Actually, I'm a trainer, but I need some kind of a help, some study materials or something like that for international English language test, because many of our students are interested to study abroad for their post-graduation. So would you like to tell us something about that? Can we have a webinar like that for those students who are interested to join American universities?
Yeah, we can set up a session with the USIEF. That's the office within our office that does that, US India Educational Foundation. We could set up a webinar specifically about that, especially if you want to do certain topic like English literature. They could focus their guidance on those fields. We do have, I mean, you do have to have good English, but there are programs that will build in like an English language program before you start. So if you, instead of going in September, you would go in June and do a summer of English. But, you know, that should be building on already like a pretty strong level that you have. So I think the best thing to do for your students is just to make sure, I mean, you're studying an English medium already, so that's great. And reading and making sure that your conversations are happening even outside of class in English versus Tamil, just to get yourself used to it. Yeah.
Ma'am, I have one more question. Ma'am, our department, Teaching and Research Department of English, our students are very much interested in clearing TESOL. Would you help us, help our students to clear that test, or do you conduct any program, certification program for TESOL?
For your the TESOL, the English,
yes. Yeah, TESOL program, which qualifies them to become international teachers. Okay.
Oh, so English as a second language. Yeah. That's a really good field. My sister was an English teacher for a long time for students for whom English was a second language. Yeah, there's great jobs, and you could even go abroad and study and teach, in places where they don't speak English. So that's I don't know much about that field, but it's a good job. It's a good market, I think, for teachers that are able to do that. Do you guys offer that as an academic program? Like in your education department?
Yes, ma'am. The British Council is offering a training program for that. So I would like to know whether you have a similar kind of program conducted by the US Consulate.
We don't have a specific program. I mean, we're a bit different from the British Council. Like, we don't have a commercial model. It's all public, like free public service types of things. But I can check with Yusuf and see if, I can check with our English language officer at the embassy and see if she knows of any resources that we have.
Yes. Great help for us. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Ma'am, this is Josiah Emmanuel. So we all know that so far we have been slowly coping up to this normalcy. So being an American in India, so how did you cope with surviving this identity crisis during this lockdown days? I would like to know from you.
It was hard. It's really hard because I moved here last September. So I didn't know anybody, I didn't know my neighbors very well, and I didn't know my other American colleagues very well. And my own team, like, I couldn't meet them in person. So we just did a lot of virtual things. Like, we did a lot of icebreakers, and we did parties, Halloween party where we all wore costumes online, and Christmas and all those things. So we just maximized our use of Zoom. So I'm glad to hear you guys bought Zoom. It's been really helpful for us. And yeah, I mean, I have 3 kids, so they were home with me doing homeschool. So it was kind of nice spending more time with them. So that was good. But yeah, it was a strange year, but I think it's interesting to see like what the benefits are to virtual as opposed to the negatives, and that there's actually a lot of benefits, like because India is so big, and even in here we reach all of South India. So before we would bring someone to do talks, and we would bring them around on a week tour, and they'd go to different colleges. And now we could just do a virtual program and hit everybody at once, with hundreds of people on one webinar. So it's very efficient and saves us a lot of money. And a lot of times it would be hard for us to get agreement from the person we wanted to bring. They would have to have time on their schedule, and then sometimes they would come and get tired or sick. And now, it's like instant connection with them wherever they are in the US, just a little bit of a time difference, but that's been really helpful. And the interest in US education actually is also getting more interest from people because they do more virtual programs and they can reach a further area. So I tried to look on the bright side in the past year, but of course, I'm very sorry for everything that India's gone through in the second wave. I was trying to be supportive of my team and my colleagues, and we just, like where everybody else, we were all in the same boat. So, we lost some people in our embassy, and that was really sad, but I'm happy that things are looking better in my country as well. So hopefully we're through the worst of it and we can all be together again soon.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, this is Daniel again. What are the procedures for becoming a member in US Consulate Library, Chennai? Can we have an institutional membership like that? Because can we have a digital copy of e-books, okay, for our students? Could you please give us some guidelines?
I'm actually going to let my colleague answer that because she's the director right now. She knows all about the resources. Usha, are you there?
Thank you for your interest. We do have the brochure and I will send it to you across. This will have all the information what our Council for Public Affairs mentioned about our collection resources and all that. So you can have a look at it, and it is very easy to become a member. All these details are also available in our website. Thank you.
Usha, there's an institutional membership, right?
Yes, we do have institutional membership. I'm just going to put all the details in the chat box.
And we have access to the what is it? Pro Library?
E-Library USA.
Yeah, and what all do you get for English literature in there?
You have articles plus dissertations and theses. As soon as you become a member of the library, you will be given temporary access to the E-Library USA resources.
And very soon we will become members of the US Consulate Library. I already went through the pamphlet that the other day when the council came here. So we are working on it, and I'll discuss that with Dr. Rajendra Pandit. And then we'll become members of the US Consulate Library. That is why I asked when we would be able to come there. So already you told us that sometime in December. So just waiting.
Ma'am, is the library limited for students of English or students of all branches of study?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Mr. Daniel, would you please repeat the question again? I think didn't get across.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. This is Daniel again, ma'am. This is with regard to the use of library. The library is limited for students of English literature or even science and other arts students whether they can access the e-library, everyone. So can we have an institutional license? Then it's only limited to students of literature or students of all branches of study?
Usha, can you answer that?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I think the question is whether the library is only open to students of American literature or all subjects, and what institutional membership would cover one department or like the whole university, or who would be covered under that?
Anyone can become a member of the American Center. If you are taking institution membership, then the whole college can make use of it. If it is an individual member, then only the individual member can make use of it. The membership fee is only 400 rupees for a year and 700 rupees for 2 years. With your membership, you can borrow 4 books and 2 magazines of back issues for a period of 4 weeks. If you are an institution member, you can borrow 20 books and 10 magazines of 10 back issues of magazines.
I should say that Usha and her team will also do an orientation for you. If you guys join and you want a session with the team, they'll go through in detail all the resources that we have, if that's helpful.
Yes, ma'am. We'll plan and then we'll plan and send a mail to Ms. Usha. But then I already have gone through. So maybe we'll have a discussion at the department and then we'll become members of the library. And that will be really helpful to students.
Ma'am, we have a question from one of our students, Mr. Siva Sudhakar. He asks, can you specify any particular scholarship Ma'am, I come again with a question. It's from one of our students, Mr. Siva Sudhakar. He asks, can you specify any particular scholarship program for students who wish to study in the US?
Well, the premier scholarship is the Fulbright scholarship. That's a fully funded scholarship, but it's merit-based, so it's hard to get. But we're trying to spread the Fulbright scholarship out to more institutions, and especially in smaller cities. So it's not just capital. So Usha can put in maybe the website for USEF, and they have all the information on the Fulbright scholarships. Otherwise, we always tell students that the #1 way to get funding for US universities is from the university itself. So the first thing to do is kind of do an analysis of what university you're looking for, and then apply directly to them, and then ask for financial aid. And it will depend on the university. But if you're doing a master's or a PhD, then you probably want to get like a graduate assistantship or a tuition or a research assistantship. And that means you have to work for a certain number of hours. And in exchange, you get full scholarship plus some funding for your living expenses.
Gratitude
for sharing.
Gratitude is the ultimate expression of enhancing substance at work. Here's Alvin Sharon from 3rd UG to propose the oath of thanks.
Good afternoon, and all. It's indeed my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks. First of all, I thank God Almighty for bestowing grace and made this occasion a successful event. Next, I place my sincere gratitude to Dr. M. Daumani Christopher, Principal and Secretary, the American College, for his engagement and support in all the endeavors of the department. Thank you, sir. I then honestly record my gratitude of the Jain pillars of the department, Dr. Rajendra Pandyan, Head PG, and Dr. J. Paljakar, Head UG and PG Self-Finance, for this meticulous planning and execution of the ELA inauguration. Thank you, dear professors. My heartfelt thanks to the chief guest of the day, Ms. Annalise Sesatri, Counsel of Public Affairs, U.S. Consulate General, for joining hands with the department in releasing the magazine Ensign and rendering a thought-provoking inaugural address. Thank you, ma'am. I'm also immensely grateful to the faculty members of the department for the warm commitment and sternest involvement in the inauguration. Thank you, professors. Finally, I record my devote and sincere thanks to all the student representatives, volunteers, and participants for their diligent involvement and engagement throughout the event. Thank you, dear friends. Once again, I thank you one and all.
Thank you, Ms. Ann Lee, for sharing your expertise with us. And thank you, everyone, for participating in today's inaugural session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.